Morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the meeting of the Eastham Affordable Trust on Thursday, October 9th at 9 o'clock. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. We do have a quorum. We have 4 out of 5 committee members here. So that's good. Shall we start? We have a guest, right? Rachel, we have a guest.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was writing a note. Yes, we have Kristen. Kristen is our new CPA / community development administrative assistant.
Oh, great. So we're
Her last
taking,
name Kristen Freeland. FREIW.
great, well, welcome.
Thank you.
And Mary's sitting in today, which is always a good thing. So thank you,
Some
Mary.
people might not agree with you.
Oh, I do. I do a lot. Okay, we sent out the minutes, or we have in our packet also, thank you, Rachel, the minutes of the, oops, I meant,
Yeah, they're not in the packet.
there it will be in the email. Minutes of the last meeting, which were
September 11th.
September 11th, thank you.
Yeah.
So I was not here, but I did watch the meeting and I read the minutes, so I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of
Okay.
September 11th.
All right,
Second.
okay, all in favor? Aye, okay. Thank you, okay, reorganization. Every year we, at the beginning of the year, and we have a discussion about who's going to be chair, vice chair, and clerk, and our representative to the CPC committee, okay? So, currently I'm chair, Amy's vice chair. We don't have a clerk, we need a clerk. And we need a rep to the CPC committee, which at the moment is Elaine. So,
Well, I say we make Jeff clerk. I think that goes without saying.
would you be
He's
willing to
Not here.
take notes?
No, Jeff.
Not here.
My second Jeff.
We could try, see if he's willing to do it. Then Justin, would you be willing?
I'm willing to try and step up. I don't know that I'm a very good note taker, but
Well,
I'm willing to put in the effort.
okay, why don't we try Justin? All right,
Okay. You asked for it. Here's
so-
my first note. I can't read it.
well, the basic principle for this committee is who was here, when was the meeting, what were the topics discussed? Not at length, and any actions actually voted on and taken, like we approved the minutes. And then we're gonna take a vote on the reorganization. So minutes are usually at most a page.
Sure. No, I've read and approved many minutes in my life and yelled at secretaries, not clerks, for putting too much detail in them. So
Right, there you go.
I understand how they should be.
Yeah.
I'm going, no, change that.
When I've been a clerk on stuff, what I'll do is just take the agenda and then just
Absolutely.
expand,
Yeah.
put space between the items and write what happened.
I'll build a little template.
Yeah,
I'll
fine.
figure
And we have this wonderful thing called AI, which will do a summary of the
Oh,
meeting.
he's invent what we talked about.
Yeah.
After watching the
And-
video.
And what it does,
That's
Paul has been really good at sharing this with me for the zoning committee
Mhm.
task force. It will do a short summary, so that's like the half a page equivalent. And then if you want the details, it does the detail too. So there are 2 versions of that, and I don't know, Paul, how you request that, but
I think it's just being turned on by default now.
okay,
Yeah, I think.
so that would help you
Sure.
considerably.
No, I
Part of being on Zoom and recorded.
I can take this home. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right.
Am
So,
I starting today?
yes.
Okay. So I'll just making sure.
So
I don't want to do any work I don't have to.
yes, exactly. So if I could have a motion to recommend that the reorganization be myself as chair, Amy as vice chair, Justin as clerk, and Elaine as the representative to the CPC committee.
So moved.
Okay? All, second? Anyone second?
I'll
Elaine
second.
it, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, done, great, easy peasy,
Remember, Justin, you can't blame me, because I tried to
I,
throw Jeff.
yeah.
in front of him.
you're a real political
Yeah.
animal.
Right,
I'm not in the room, that's what happens.
that's right,
Yeah,
that's right,
that's how I became clerk,
yes, that's right,
I was not there.
that's.
When is my thank you ceremony though?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the thing.
Yeah, watch out for her.
now children, okay.
I forgot we did. I know we'll have
We
a
voted.
recording. I will go to the
That
recording.
we approved the minutes,
Right.
How do we reorganize?
9/11, and we reorganized. And we welcome our guests,
And I'm sorry, we kept chair and vice chair the same?
yes. Okay,
And I will continue to be the
right,
rep to the.
Right.
and we don't have to, I think,
Can't wait to be vice chair one day.
yeah,
That's a good job.
that's a good job. I don't think, since you're currently the representative to the CPC committee, I don't think we have to officially notify the select board because there's no change, or should I send
I
it?
think notify, but
Okay.
there's obviously no vote by the select board.
Right, okay,
She's continuing on.
I'll take care of that. Okay, so we'll officially notify them that you're continuing, great, okay. The next thing I wanted to do is just an observation. In your packet, I don't, were you able to make copies?
Oh,
Yeah, okay, great. Is this fancy little chart? And what it is the pipeline of development that's going on in from Brewster to Provincetown of new affordable housing projects. And some of they're not all affordable, some of them include market rate projects as well. And in looking at this, I highlighted the two for East End, one, the Village Nassau Green, which is completed, and the other is a placeholder for Tea Time Project. It struck me that East End doesn't have very much in the pipeline.
What about Town Center Plaza?
Town Center Plaza.
COA
Town Center Plaza should be on here.
and the COA property?
Have we made a decision?
No, but it's definitely in the mix for the
Okay.
three properties, the
Right.
Tea Time. Town Center,
Yes,
COA.
I would say so. So we have those, but it's still sort of perhaps calls out, at least to me, that we need to continue to look for opportunities that aren't just the Tea Time and Town Center Plaza that are gonna take 8 years, whatever, to do. When we did Village at Nassau Green, we were kind of ahead of the pack because a lot of these other projects weren't underway. And so I just don't want us to lose traction as we're dealing with the really big projects, which consume an awful lot of staff time and effort, as they should, and community time and effort. I don't want us to lose sight of other either programs or possible housing projects that we could do. It struck me that we're a little, I wouldn't say behind, but other towns happen to have more projects ongoing. I don't know, Paul's looking at me with.
They have more land.
I like to say something.
You feel free.
I agree with you that we need to keep moving forward, but there's some other properties there's more happening than is reflected.
On this, good,
So
Beach Plum.
Beach Plum Motel, 580 Massasoit Road, the Salt Marsh Condo, Del Gizzy properties are all,
good,
I will say slowly but surely moving forward.
okay,
So those are in the pipeline and work is actively going on. So that's one thing. The second thing I'd like to say is that there is a lot going on in these other towns. But these other towns have some advantages that we don't yet. And that's, we're gonna start catching up, but Chatham and Orleans have sewer.
Right.
And pretty much everything else on this list, there is properties that were already set aside explicitly for housing or housing at some other combination. And we don't have that set up in East Town. We have tea time at Town Center, and then that's pretty much it for town property that has been totally dedicated without any questions asked towards housing. Everything else we have, there are some other properties definitely that we've talked about that could be used for housing, but they aren't like the decision hasn't been finalized that this is set aside for housing and we can like focus on it. So I just wanna,
I think that's good. Then maybe what we need to do is Rachel talk to CDP, because this is, the source of this was CDP. It was a handout that they sent around. So to have these other properties listed. So
is this CDP's
this is
pipeline?
CDP's
Yes.
website.
Okay, so
So from.
I'm not sure that.
From
The other thing I'd like to clarify is that CDP is not a developer of any of these properties.
No,
So it's not
they were
their-
just trying.
It's not their development pipeline, it's a list
Right,
they've compiled of other people's
Right,
development
it's-
pipeline.
yes, that's correct. Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but through the peer groups is where they've developed the pipeline
Discussion.
discussion
Yeah.
as part of the discussion in the peer groups. So we could talk to them and have our other projects added to the list.
Yeah, we could.
Mhm.
And the other thing I want to point out too, just as an aside, it's not all of these, like, some of them are just individual. They're not like a Penrose or a Hack or Poa. They're just somebody who decided that they were gonna take a piece of property and develop it, so it may not have state funds, it may be their own funds
Right.
too. So luckily, there's some people who are stepping up to do something that way.
Well, and that's why adding Beach Plum and 580
Yeah.
and Salt Marsh condos, is that the official
I
title
think
now?
is that what we're,
Yeah. Salt Marsh. Salt Pond.
Salt Pond.
And we've called it so many different things.
That's the one we picked up for the sewer project?
yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
we're trying to come up with a nice
That's the one.
founding name.
yeah,
Salt Pond, Salt.
I think Salt Pond
is
condo sounds really good.
I think we were saying salt
Marsh.
Pond Vista or something.
There you go.
You came up.
We're gonna talk about a use for AI, coming up with housing development.
And it
names.
is actually, it
Piece of
was
paper.
over across the street.
It was a little bit more like where the chickens.
Say again? Say again?
The two
I didn't say I'm artificially intelligent, we'll go to the
That's
machine and
it.
see.
That property
Mhm.
came from the Salt Marsh Pond side of the highway.
and
They
they
were
got
moved over there. I believe they were a hotel.
Yeah, they were,
Correct.
they were at the far end of where the visitor center is that.
Right,
Further
Really, those two buildings?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cause I knew that, I thought that motel maybe up there on top was, but I didn't know.
interesting.
Condo.
Amazing
the
how they,
property is beautiful. When that
Yeah.
gets refinished,
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
people don't realize, now it has a beautiful.
Finally,
view of
some
Salt Pond. It
affordable
just
housing
needs to
with
be-
water view.
It's gonna be.
or a few a few market rate ones that could fund the
Right.
affordable housing
Yeah.
ones that don't
It's
have.
overgrown, you don't, potential there is really, once it's
How
cleaned
many
up,
acres is it?
it's not that big, I think it's
I don't
maybe
know.
2 acres, maybe 2 acres at the top at the most. Some of that's got wetland on it though, so,
Right,
Yeah,
but
okay, great.
and that'll be for the storm water.
Some of it.
Shed.
Right,
And the basement, okay.
Yes, that's what it is.
okay. The other comment I was just gonna make is, I heard a very interesting podcast this week. It was about Martha's Vineyard. Now, it was really food related because it was a food related podcast, because I like to listen to those, but the person that was being interviewed is the sort of de facto Brazilian community leader on Martha's Vineyard, and they have, I don't hold me to the exact number, but something like 30% of the population is Brazilian. And as you could guess, they're the people that own the shops and do the landscaping and the house cleaning and so forth. Then he came as a young child and now owns a number of businesses and is constantly looking to how to help that, the Martha's Vineyard town as a whole. He's on a lot of town committees now and particularly interested in housing. And because he said one of the problems is like East End where there's a lack of affordable housing, it certainly is on Martha's Vineyard as well. But if you can't live on the island, then you have to live off island and commute and leave your family somewhere else. And he said he's seeing it erode so much so that he's worried that eventually there won't be enough kids on Martha's Vineyard to even have a school. Because families just can't afford to live here and they're moving away, not just Brazilian families, but other families as well. And it struck me how quickly that process of making it the economics such that families are no longer a welcome part of the town. It struck me how quickly that can happen. And I'm just concerned in Eastham, if we don't continue to make progress like we have with Penrose, with Village Knott's Green, with the tea time in town center and all these other places, we're gonna have the same situation. The other day I drove down the road and I saw a young woman pushing a baby carriage and I thought, I don't ever see that in Eastham. You know, I don't, maybe I don't live in the right neighborhoods, drive the right streets, but you just don't see that. The only time I really see kids is here at Field of Dreams in the back, soccer season now, and they come and they're gaggles of kids playing soccer, but I just don't want that to happen for our town. And so the work that we do, I think is just so important to try to continue to make it economically feasible for
Well, a bit of
the town.
encouraging news is family support package has basically run out of money, so we have to do an override next year to up it.
Good.
$135,000. Yep,
Yeah.
35,000, we're gonna up it so that we can capture
For the childcare.
for daycare up to 3 and then preschool for 3 and 4-year-olds.
Yes. And we've had so much interest in it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really
We
good.
right now, roughly, I think it's 130 some kids
That's awesome.
under 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not quite like 30 a class for elementary, but you know, we always seem to get more like the 4 and 5-year-olds. There's more of them than there is the little bitty ones. So,
If I remember right, I don't know where I saw these stats, but there's two trends that are opposite directions. One is if you look at enrollment of the elementary school over the last 20 years, it is down 30% or something like that. But I recall reading somewhere in the newspaper maybe that at least comparing the Outer Cape elementary schools, Eastham is relatively healthy and growing in terms of student enrollment. So
not by a lot.
what I don't mean to say is we're out of the woods. What are you worried about, Carolyn? That's not what I mean. I'm just saying, let's be encouraged as we
Right.
worry about that problem.
And the family support package, I think is a good example of that, where making daycare and preschool affordable, made a big difference for some of the families in our community.
Yeah, it's huge.
No doubt. Yeah. So I think that's awesome. Okay. Anyway, those are just two things that
I should
I-
mention for Paul too, you've got a hard stop at 10.
so-
Yeah, I gotta go
Okay.
next time.
Okay. Okay, any other opening general comments anyone wants to make? I just wanted to make those. Okay, the next thing is to talk about the discussion on the CPC discussion that has been raised by Rich to the finance director to recommend that the CPA funding for the town be changed from 3% to 1.5%. And I have a chart that he presented, you've seen it, and I know Mary's seen it. I couldn't figure out how to make copies of it because it was too big, but
Who does I do that?
well, I can just talk through it because it's really just a few key numbers.
Okay.
Um. The premise is that wastewater being so expensive that eventually there's going to need to be an override, an increase in taxes to support wastewater. And one of the ways that Rich has proposed partially for funding for wastewater is to reduce the CPA funding so that the town could create a WIF, a wastewater investment fund. And which would be similar to the CPA funding, a percentage of real estate taxes, and would show up as a line item on people's tax statement. And in his financial projections for wastewater funding, he's projected wanting to get $600,000 out of this WIF each year, for as long as we need it for the wastewater. And so that instead of having CPA percentage at 3%, reduce it to 1.5%, the WIF would be at 1.5%. And so the two combined would still stay at 3%. So there would be no tax increase for those, the combination of those two line items. But so that's, I think, what he presented. Am I saying that
Yeah.
correctly? Yeah. That would effectively cut in half the CPA funding. And which would have a direct impact on funding for housing, as well as the three other CPA areas: recreation, historic preservation, and open space. And so I just wanted to throw it out to the committee to see, because it directly affects housing, and to see if what we thought about that. He presented it just to the CPC committee just this past week,
And finance committee.
and he's coming to, has he been to the finance committee, Lori?
Has Rich come to the finance committee yet with the WIF?
No, not finance, he came to the CPA,
Okay.
Right, came to CPA
not
and
the finance committee yet.
and select board for discussion. It would have to go to town meeting in May. So no decision is being made, but
So he gave,
yeah.
okay. He gave some, look back at where CPA money's been used and how much. Now, we do have some set asides that are kind of earmarked for housing,
Right,
but in general, we haven't used the 1.5. If it had been 1.5%, we would still fit into that, what we've used historically. So, I mean, there's kind of justification, I think, for doing it, in that we haven't used the full amount historically for housing. But my feeling really is wastewater is a huge component of housing. Because without that, we wouldn't get
Right.
the meaningful, right, we won't get meaningful housing. So
That's
the
right.
fact that we did get wastewater, I think that personally, that it justifies shifting some of that out of the CPA, and CPA can still be heavy on housing. Because you only have to do 10%, right?
you have to do 10%.
Right.
30% down.
No,
Right, but you're only legally required
to do
to
10%.
do
So you
10%.
could do 70%.
You could do 70% for
80%.
housing and leave the other 30 for the other three.
Right. You could,
So
right?
Okay.
roughly,
Did you?
if
Say-
if it
I
came to
did.
that, if we really needed,
I don't know.
so
Always try.
just my thought. That
Yes.
it,
The only other thing that troubled me a little bit about this is, and this is where my lost son, the CPA funds are matched by the state. And
barely,
well, it's about
16%.
18%.
it was, now it's gonna be 16.
Okay, 16%.
Yeah,
And so that means that we're losing about $150,000 a year in state funding by doing by decreasing the CPA fund from 3% to 1.5%, because then we no longer qualify. for
Well,
the
we
matching.
still get the 16%. We won't get the other two. There's two other tiers that you get.
But
Stage two.
Stage two,
Stage two,
three,
stage
so
three.
you only get those if you do the full
Right.
3% of CPA, so those would be out.
right,
And then half the amount
half of
would only get the 16%.
right. So
match.
Rich said it was about 15% that we would lose.
That's an, excuse me, that's an estimate.
Yes,
We know that that's not always the case.
it isn't. It varies. every year.
Fluctuates every year,
Yes,
depending
it does.
upon the registry of deeds.
And upon action of the state, they have at times increased the match for CPA funding.
If they have extra.
If they have extras that they want to contribute to it. So,
I'm curious to bring up, if Amy, the justification that you mentioned just now makes total sense to me, right? The money's not really getting spent, so why don't we use it somewhere that it's productive and gonna get spent? That makes sense. My question, and it kind of occurred to me last time, I'm new here. So forgive me if I'm wrecking balling anything, I'm not trying to. But, last month, we sat and looked at the financials and things, and there's, practically $2 million sitting in the bank. And the P&L kind of said, yeah, it's just sitting there. Like most of the money moving around was interest being earned on the money sitting there. So I wonder, well, that makes me feel like maybe that we should be doing more. There should be something more active to use that money to create demand for the 3% CPA funds and say, here's what it's being used for. So I guess my question is, and here's where I'm trying not to throw anybody under the bus, but what's the bottleneck that we have? And I'm asking that just with my fresh set of eyes that, how do we start spending this money on productive housing things?
Development, those things in the queue.
Okay.
Because we basically emptied out everything when Village of Osprey was built. Because we had to throw, 300,000 in at the last minute, we had to put money up before that.
right,
And then, the programs we run, we basically zeroed out, I think 5 years ago.
Okay.
And so we built back up.
And is that the style of this organization, that mostly we're gonna wait, build reserves and then deploy a big chunk at once? Is that, and I mean, that's a very valid
Yeah.
approach. It
In
could be
addition to
exactly
the
what we should
ongoing
do.
programs.
well, I think that's a discussion.
What I was getting is the ongoing programs seem very small relative to the amount of money that's sitting around. Now, if that's because every 5 years we're gonna spend $10 million in one shot, I know that's an exaggeration, but okay, great. This is, I've been here 4 months. I don't know what happens every 5 years.
Yeah,
But, well, I was just gonna say, but it's also the pent up demand, if you will. If you look at the draft work plan, that is a work plan from last year, and I just updated it with where we are this year. There are a number of programs where we could be spending money, but we don't have the program developed.
Okay.
Okay, Rachel's been given a lot of work to do, very good work on Beach Plum and Liveity Massasoit and all the other needs assessments, et cetera, property management kinds of things, so that the program development hasn't happened. And some of these programs have been on our wish list for several years. And we would be spending more money impactfully if we had the programs developed.
So we have the ideas for how to spend the money. We just haven't developed the
Right.
ability to execute it
The
yet.
Lease to Locals program, I think, is a really good example
Okay, yeah.
of, it's a program that's successful elsewhere. We wanted to try to emulate it. We didn't have the bandwidth, staff time wise, to be able to do it. So we hired a consultant and said, help us develop a Lease to Locals program. They did. And now we have, how many, 20 some?
It's on my.
and we're partnering with Orleans.
And we're partnering with
Yeah.
Orleans.
So we've got, as of September 25th, there's 34 leads in the pipeline. 21 of those are for Eastham. And I just sent off my first check request for a landlord,
Right.
yesterday. So we have our first person.
So the way we unblocked that, we collectively, Paul and Rachel and Rich came up with the idea of hiring a consultant to help us, because there's only so many hours in a day for staff time.
Sure.
And so maybe that's part of what we need to think about to advance some of the other things on the work plan, is for the trust to hire a consultant under Rachel or Paul's direction to try and make some of these programs happen.
Yeah, so that's was gonna be something we wanted to talk about. And the other thing I'll mention is some of the programs just in the last few years with the way the real estate market's been. Didn't make sense to roll out, so the down payment assistance program, things that. We just decided to wait because
Here's
the
an
money.
extra, here's an extra $5,000 so that you can make your $300,000 down payment kind of thing.
Right, it just didn't make sense to do it at this point, over the last few years, so I got shelved, but. It's, we start taking another look at it, is the time getting back to where that could be. So I think it's a combination of things. Capacity is definitely one of them. There's also, we acquired all of these properties, and again, without having the wastewater issue settled until just recently. Trying to determine what is the appropriate mix of knowing that we had Village of Nauset Green and what the demographics were on that. And affordability, trying to compensate and balance out. With workforce and other, so it's been a lot of, that's why behind the scenes, there's a lot of. Work going on that doesn't really show on the public side, because just been a lot of discussion, a lot of data crunching, a lot of trying to figure out and balance, like. If we do this, just logistics and all that kind of stuff, so it's a combination of things, which. I think, again, now that wastewater is coming along and things are gonna start falling into place, these other projects that I mentioned earlier are starting to fall into place, where. We had feedback and guidance a few months ago from the select board. That was the other thing, like, what do we want? What do we want the affordability level of the target for these properties to be? So, getting our ducks in a row, getting the guidance we needed from the select board about where they wanna see. Things happen, it's starting to fall into place, right?
And a really, I think, impactful decision, and maybe it's not a decision yet, but recommendation that is consistent with the select board direction is that as a seasonal community, the draft regulations just came out and they increased the CPA allowable level up to, or recommending to increase up to 200%. And so that will allow some of our activities from the trust to be more directed equally to lower income housing and attainable
I'm
workforce. housing.
almost sure I understand what you mean, but I'm just gonna say it back to you, meaning that now. CPA funds would no longer be restricted to projects for, I think it's 100% of AMI,
100% now.
but instead would be restricted for projects up to 200%. Okay, I understand.
Now, that hasn't been enacted, they're out for comment.
Right.
Supposed to have something by the end of the month,
Right.
like a final draft maybe or something.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything come out yet. I've been watching that for the comment period to open.
Are you
Right.
going tomorrow to the, it's the Cape and Islands Municipal Leader Group at the Sheridan? I know Rich and Jackie are going.
Okay, should I talk to them?
Yes, I
Okay,
think you should
Yeah,
go too,
I think so
because
too.
it's gonna be someone from the seasonal communities. It
Right.
may be the secretary, I don't know, who's
Okay.
coming, but.
But that
to talk about
direction
it,
will
that's
open
the
up
discussion.
some of our programs as well. To make
Right.
it make it consistent with.
Less restrictive on how we can use this CPA funds,
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is, I think, the
Right.
bulk, yeah, that's the bulk of it.
The other thing that is important to know. And it doesn't show up on. Spreadsheets and things, is a huge bulk of the work that we've been doing is the zoning.
Yes.
Sure.
Which Carolyn is on the zoning task force with me, so. That is an area where I think we are way beyond the other, what other.
Absolutely.
Ahead of.
Yeah.
Doing
Yeah,
some
so that-
innovative zoning and land use regulations that really. Incentivize. Affordable housing and the density we need, again, that density is not gonna be able to come to fruition unless we have the wastewater capacity, so.
Right.
Well, and the perspective I'm bringing from my question is simply. Sort of one of two things is true, either. We should go ahead and give up these CPA funds and fund the sewer for all these reasons, that sewer supports. Housing, and that the housing funds, we're not able to use them. fully and effectively anyway, so, okay, maybe that's true. Or the opposite is maybe with all this work that's going on in the background, suddenly soon we might expect a lot of demand and a lot of ability to deploy capital, in which case, holy cow, I sure wish we hadn't, given up a $500,000 a year for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Well, so that's all I'm trying to bring, and I'm not sure what hat to wear right now.
Right.
There's a hat I could wear that's, affordable housing trustee, where just like give us as much money as you possibly can, and then our responsibility is to go use it correctly. There's a bigger picture hat, I know you wear, that says, what's the bigger picture for the town? I've got a taxpayer hat somewhere that says, the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think that's sort of the question, whether or not, the issue of should we spend all the money all the years, or should we save it up and deploy, big? That's kind of to the side. The other thing is, are we going to need a lot of money to be effective and to be efficient? Not needed, but are we going to be able to deploy it in a newly effective way in the near future? In which case, it would be best not to strangle that off now.
I think there's so many variables though with how these properties are gonna get developed that,
Sure.
yes, we're always gonna need some amount of money to help fund these projects, but tea time, town center, like a big part of the town contribution, not just the is the fact that we have the land. So, whether we're gonna we're giving the land basically to the developer for free, basically. I mean, that's a huge, so everything's not also the fact that we don't have a lot of cash on hand to throw at it, although that is always gonna be some part of it. So that's why it's like, it's tough to know, do you steward all these funds, so you have this giant thing to throw at it? Well, may not be a huge factor, just given like the developers are gonna have their financing options coming through, and the tax credits, and the fact that if they're getting the property for no cost, and if the town's putting the infrastructure in, we're doing the sewer, we're doing the roadway, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's always good to realize we're gonna need funds, and we should have the funding as much as we can.
we're gonna. need a lot
But
of
it's not
funds.
that every project's gonna need $300,000 or just cash thrown at just.
Yeah.
But again, it's hard to know, because there's so many variables of how the project's gonna come together, how they finance it.
I think that's where we gotta dig through this, draft work plan, see what are the programs that we're not currently executing that we should. And then, last month we talked about, let's build a budget, let's build a capital plan for the trust, and this all goes into it. Then we say, oh, these 3 programs here that we're not doing are wonderful things.
Right,
Here's what they're gonna cost, and this is our focus.
exactly. Okay, so back to the CPA. Mary, Mary, I'm so sorry.
I'd like to add another comment to this. That if the 600,000 from the CPA funds aren't used, right now, the taxpayers are paying for that on a regular basis. That if those $600,000 aren't used from the CPA, it's going to add $600,000 to the taxpayers. It's got to come from someplace, and right now they're already paying for it. If we don't take the money from here, it ends up being additional monies that the taxpayers have to pay.
Right,
That's why I'm saying, let's make sure we have a plan to deploy it in a useful and effective way.
yeah. I find it, what's the right words I would use? It's somewhat inconceivable to me that all of these things we've listed, Beach Plum, 580, Salt Pond, COA, Town Center Plaza, Tea Time, that there isn't going to be significant requests or demand from the town for cash to make those projects work. That the economics of those projects, just like we saw at Village at Nauset Green, the town put in the trust $650,000. The town put in additional land and infrastructure. I can't imagine those projects, how much have we put into 580 and to Beach Front?
Nothing to Beach Plum, and through historic funds, there was I think it was 740.
Right,
Well, we haven't spent it yet, but that's what we're working towards.
Right.
That project.
and so I think that the economics of those projects. Particularly if we're trying to get more housing into those projects. Is going to be such that the developers in the partnerships that they're gonna create with the town. Because the town owns the land. And so however those public-private partnerships work. I can't imagine there's gonna not be requests for significant funding. That's been true in any one of the major projects. That when you look at this list from CDP of projects that are ongoing. They all require significant funding because yes, there's low income tax credits and yes, there's state funding available. But it's a finite amount. And the cost of construction, the cost of materials, the cost of labor is all just going up. And so I think we would be short-sighted to think that there won't be significant demand, and we can't predict what that is. But I think it definitely will be there. Based on the experience I've seen of reading what these other projects, the contributions of the other towns have made financially. And so part of the buildup process is anticipating that that's going to be true. Balanced with trying to undertake programs that are different than new construction. Right, a lot of the things in our work plan really are like the lease to locals program, the help program, the rental assistance program are designed to help people now. To go from not affordable to affordable in terms of someplace to be. So I think it's the balance that we have. And as we go through the work plan, we might be able to see what that means and then translate that into dollars required for those programs. So that's just my 2 cents.
So you're against splitting it up for the width?
I am mostly because for one, I don't want to see potential funding for housing go away. But also because I think the idea of giving up the state match, when what Rich said in the CPC committee meeting is that the wastewater funding, when we get to the point where we're actually doing a funding request, will be at a very low 0 to 1% interest rate. So to me, it doesn't make sense to take money away that would earn 15-12% return for something that would be at 0%. I mean, it's the equivalent of hiring a staff person every year, the amount of money that we would lose. That doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know, I'm just listening from a taxpayer perspective, really. When we go to actually fund the wastewater program, it's gonna be big dollars. And folding that 600,000 into that funding, how much of a difference would that make to it would be the same difference to the taxpayer in terms of what
No,
they pay.
well, because the CPA's, a percentage of your tax, it's
Right.
not a percentage of your value,
Right.
so it's a little.
No, but what I'm saying is the taxpayer is gonna pay the equivalent of 600,000 either way.
True,
Right.
but whether it's what they're already paying or in addition to what they're already paying is.
No, they're still gonna pay it. One way or another, they still have to pay it.
Right, but whether we increase
Right,
their taxes is the issue.
right,
Like to get it, if we didn't touch CPA and everybody paid for it,
right.
then
You still need the 600
Increase.
on top of that.
Yeah.
on top of.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
This
This just sort of smooths it out a little bit so that the taxes won't go up
quite so much,
quite so much.
right? But with some loss. So
Some loss.
that's why I'm against it, I guess. That's just my personal opinion, so. we don't have to decide today. There's nothing for us to decide, I think, because the select board's gonna decide it. I don't know. What does anyone else think? I've spoken too much.
I mean, matching funds versus very low interest financing to me is a very compelling idea to look at. Right? I don't know the town finances. I can't say whether that makes sense or not. I think we have to take seriously the idea of, how much money does the town spend? And if we need to spend more on sewer, which of course we've all voted and agreed to do, then we do need to cut back in other areas. But, is housing the right area for that? Is this the efficient way to cut back when we're losing some matching funds instead of taking on very low interest debt? Maybe not, but that's,
Yeah, so,
I'm not giving an answer, but I'm saying, but this is the framework through which I would.
And I haven't heard his presentation on it either.
Yeah.
So
right.
I
Okay,
think that's,
well, maybe we could get him to come and talk to us.
yes.
Alright. Okay, Paul, I know you have to leave. Were you here for a particular topic?
No, I just was,
For the
Good. I mean,
housing production plan,
the housing production plan, should we talk about that
Sure.
next? We need to come up with a sort of overall strategy and timeline for getting that achieved for next year, right?
yes, so my thought on that was that we update the plan, but we discuss what we want the scope of that project to be and what we want the product to be for the plan. So pretty much every time we've done the housing production plan, we basically follow the template that the state had, there's a checklist of things that the state wants to see in that plan. Kind of boilerplate thing, and we've always just done it to get that approval. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think looking at the scope of, do we want the plan can be beyond that too, so just constructing of plans that, yes, checks all the boxes for what the state wants to see so that they'll approve it, but also kind of goes beyond that to incorporate all of the other miscellaneous things that we're doing with housing that don't necessarily have to be in the state approved plan. So we have some latitude we can use to figure out, like, do we want this to be more of a comprehensive plan that draws in whatever we think is prevalent, pertinent to that plan. So I guess I don't know exactly what all those things might be, but one example is we've always had the plan, the state approved plan, but then we've had kind of this informal community housing plan, which isn't really a plan, but it's more like the list of projects and initiatives, and it kind of exists in a chart. And we've kind of always just, so combining those two things into one comprehensive plan, and then like looking, and then other things that I'm not thinking of right now probably on there. So that's kind of like the general thing of, if we're gonna update the plan, let's look at the scope. And I think bundled with that project could be, let's hire the consultant to do the plan as we want it, but also develop some of these assistance programs. So part of the plan is evaluating all these various programs that we've been looking at. Figuring out, is now the time, which one do we want to do, what's the time for these things, but then let's have them develop the plan, the guidelines, and all the necessary things that go with it, if there's certain paperwork, forms, applications, checklists, all that kind of stuff, so that we can just kind of bundle this into a more comprehensive project and start to move forward on some of these things. So the end product would be a hybrid plan with a bunch of kind of auxiliary pieces.
If we were doing coming up with a comprehensive town housing strategy, strategic plan, for lack of a better word. Would we use the same consultant that we've used in the past to do?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I was wondering
Yeah.
that.
Yes, I mean, that would just be part of the procurement,
Right,
part of who would bid on it,
okay,
who would evaluate. who the best person to do it would be.
You know, and we had put on the agenda too with this was the strategic plan and just kind of looking at the whole picture. So that we can come up with the best.
I think,
And some of these. You know, doing a needs assessment might be part of that too, which is something that will help us. Plan for the future for some of these other developments too, so I mean, that is not something that is. Required for what the state wants to see, but it might be a piece of the puzzle that we want to have. So again, just trying to figure out, I don't know what exactly the scope of the things that we want in here, but I think it's as an opportunity to kind of make this plan a little bit more. Robust and comprehensive and useful for on a number of fronts, because you know, this housing plan, it's used by our group. It's used by the zoning task force to support what they're working on. It's used all over the town for various things.
it's part of the town's strategic plan.
But it doesn't always have, it doesn't
Okay.
always have the right. Mix of information, because it's just set up to just show what the state wants to see in the way it wants to see it, so sometimes it's kind of like. Hard to use it for other purposes that we want.
Could we, because I think from a timing perspective, our time frame for having the adopted select board housing production plan would be by the time the current one ends, which is October.
October 14th.
But from a timing perspective of influencing and guiding some of the other big projects that the town's taking sooner rather than later, you know, as work is going forward with Tea Time and Town Center Plaza particularly, sooner rather than October would be beneficial. Could, right? I would think. Could we start to either staff work or this committee come up with the scope and the definition of the scope and get that process of hiring a consultant to help us sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something the trust should work on.
Yeah.
We should brainstorm about what's our wish list of things that we think we need, and then.
And could we separate? That's part of the work plan discussion. Could we separate the strategic plan development, housing strategic plan development from some of the items on the work plan that we already know, we have data and information to know that we want to do, we just haven't had the time to do, to see whether or not we want to hire some consultants in the interim to help with some of the work plan items.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay,
it's all. Part of a discussion.
okay, maybe we could earmark some, to have a discussion today to earmark some of that.
I was gonna say, maybe we might want to, take next meeting just to discuss all of this. I don't know how people feel about that.
Okay,
I mean, we can certainly discuss some of it today, but I think it's a big conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think if stuff gets sent out ahead of time, so we can just all really start to think about it.
okay,
And then just maybe have a work session where we really just focus on that, you know, that work.
Yeah, I'd be up for interim meeting if we need an extra one.
Could do that too,
This one.
yeah. Maybe set up another meeting.
I mean, with that, I mean, we know Jeff is because he's not here.
Depends what it would be. Cause I'll be out of town. How soon could we do that? We do it next week?
2
I
weeks.
don't.
So in 2 weeks, I'll be out of town.
Monday's a holiday.
Yeah, and I'm not here Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or
I think next Thursday I could.
what's the week?
The 16th.
16th.
Yeah, the same kind of time frame on Thursday is okay for me.
Okay, 9 a.m. Thursday.
Yeah,
Same bad time, same bad channel.
right. And so because part of what we can do at that meeting is refine what we think the scope of the housing strategic plan development would be, and some of the process, not detailed, but just talking about public input and what kind of joint meetings we want to have. I know Provincetown once or twice a year has a joint meeting with select board, the Affordable Housing Trust, the planning and zoning, I think, maybe, to talk about housing and housing programs. So anyway, thinking about at our next meeting, thinking about that.
So our purpose next week is to really just lay out a strategy for how we're gonna work on and develop the plan.
Yes.
Okay, makes perfect sense.
And then I think at that same time, we can go through this work plan
Sure.
and see if there are things we can pull out that we'd say, we know we want to do, regardless of, because they've been on the list and discussed for so long. Let's see if there are any of these things that we can just go ahead and kick into gear.
Well, and the other thing I hadn't sent out was the community housing plan, so I'll send that to everybody as well.
The most
Just so you
recent
have it,
update of that.
just so everyone
Yeah.
has it in front of them.
Yeah, and maybe the excerpt from the strategic plan.
It talks about housing.
That's just a section of that
Oh,
that
yeah.
talks about housing. Okay, I think that'd be great. And I don't know if. I'm just thinking logistics, you and I can maybe talk. Us, but can we do that from 9 to 10:30? Is everyone good for?
Yeah, I think that happened. I believe Paul is too.
Okay, that would be awesome. Are there any, moving to the next item on the agenda? Are there any updates on the Tea Time Town Center Plaza?
Well, we've been, meeting, the team internally with the team. We are looking at different options. We're starting to develop an RFP for developers.
Just Paul's not here, but just a question about remember when we had the big financial analysis done on those properties? We had, I think he was an ex-developer or someone.
Right,
Like, say what would work?
what's financially feasible?
What's financially feasible for developers? We haven't seen that.
No.
Is that?
I don't know. If we have, let me follow up with that.
Yeah,
Let me follow
because
up with
that really should guide those RFPs.
Have we hired a consultant to help us develop the RFPs?
Not at
Not
this
yet.
time, no.
That worries me a little bit.
Well, and I think we have this
This is gonna be a
feasibility.
work in progress. This is
Yeah,
gonna.
it's not
take a little
happening.
bit.
It's not happening in the next couple months anyway.
And we've got a lot of work.
Yeah,
to
there's,
do.
Because I heard Rich mention at the CPC committee meeting that the internal work group is looking at maybe just making everything workforce housing. And
No,
that's what he said,
I think.
and I would hope that wouldn't be true. Because we need, that's why I pulled the,
We talked
from the housing
about
production plan.
affordable housing with the. We talked at length about tea time,
okay,
and so I think. At the end of the day, it may be what a developer presents to us as well.
yeah,
Because,
I think pulling out that study and,
well, and I think it guided some of the zoning changes we did as far as
It
the
did.
height bonuses and things like
it
that.
did,
So I think it exists, but I definitely think it should be in play to look
Right.
at before we do our.
and I think even beyond that, these are, Town Center and Tea Time are the two biggest opportunities we have for housing, but also for economic development. And having an outside set of eyes that has experience in developing those kind of RFPs. It's not just the RFP, But it's the thinking through the goals of what do we want and what's financially feasible. I would highly recommend that the select board approve hiring a consultant to assist in that process, that has that kind of real expertise. It's such a complicated,
And we did before with the Bailey Boyd, I think they
Yeah.
helped us. I think the Penrose, that Village
Mhm.
Moss Green, I think that was.
right, we hired someone, I
she
think.
Developed, yeah, I wasn't on the board then, that was one of my,
I
But
think it brings
I
us
like
back
her
to the
years.
team as well and have that discussion and
yeah.
you
Yeah,
wanna bring
Yeah.
it up. Well,
and I don't know if it's, something for the select board or for you to just talk with Jackie about,
Yeah,
but I think it's really critical. It's there's just so many moving parts
yeah,
in terms of,
Absolutely.
because it's economic development in terms of what do we want to create as an environment for new entrepreneurial businesses? It's
right.
what do we want to create for housing? What do we want to create for existing
Or
businesses?
recreation, yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's encompassed all and, right,
Yes. And so pulling that together and still making it attractive from a partnership perspective, because we're gonna partner with developers and they've got to be able to, at the end of the day, say, we learned a lot with the zoning, with the consultant that we used to help us on the Northeast 10 DCPC zoning area. We learned a lot from the consultant about what would work and what would not work, and in talking with local developers, saying, what could you make financially make work and what can't? Right?
yeah, and I think too, I mean, I think more and more, we're talking regionally and talking to our other town partners and, we've got Maurice's campground right over the line and, where can we,
200 and some,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely huge.
potential. 250,
I mean, where can we work together with the limited land that we do have?
Mhm.
Because you're right, this is our one big opportunity and we have a lot to fit in on it.
And
We want to do it right.
we want to do it right. We want to meet our goals and expectations. But we're gonna do it in partnership, and that was what we learned with Village at Nasa Green. There's a certain finite numbers that make sense to a developer and other numbers that don't.
Right.
And we can't throw enough money at it to make it work if they can't make it work.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and the state would expect that they would have the pro forma that does work for them
right,
in the long term, not just initially.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would just think that that's something we should be doing, is getting some expertise. Because it's so important.
And I think too, in the back of my mind, when we talk about all these things, is just trying to keep track of where the housing bond bill is at, what the seasonal communities, what monies might be available to us. I mean, I know it feels like we're behind, but there's also new things coming down the pike that would be helpful to
Yeah.
us.
Mhm. So going to 200% will
Yeah.
make a huge
Yeah.
difference.
well, and even a lot of the grants will have better opportunity
Right,
through
Right.
that, because we're seasonal, really, one of the one-stop
yes.
grants.
Right?
I have a question. Does anybody know what the status is of the transfer fee as far as monies for housing?
Nothing yet,
Nothing yet. Barnstable the county has put together a proposal for
Yeah, right.
how that might
they're
work.
still taking input, I think.
Yeah,
Let's say, do you know the timing on?
I don't.
I don't.
Yeah,
I saw it, but I
it
don't
may be
remember.
the end of this month that they're taking comments through.
Your husband.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought so.
But I believe there's also a parallel track where they're trying to get it
At the state.
put at the state level, put back in.
Community site.
Correct.
Yeah, Julian's trying to get it put back in.
Okay.
And maybe it'll come up tomorrow with talking about
Yeah.
seasonal communities, that they might be trying to put it back into that,
Yeah,
so,
that would,
Terry will be there tomorrow.
okay, oh, good.
good. Okay,
Thank you.
Father.
okay,
You'll make sure of it.
okay. tax bill insert?
Yes, so I put a little bit of information on your staff report. And I've spoken to Camp, who's our new treasurer. He at this time feels that we may be able to insert a third page size on information for the housing programs. He said, what he said was unless the select board have approved something I'm not aware of.
Our next for the May.
Yeah, it's for the next tax bill. So, I think we're getting in early enough on it, but
Yeah,
it usually does, the spring tax bill usually has, recreation, beach sticker information, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and, there's one other
no,
thing.
no, it comes with the census.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There was a tax aid, tax aid is in that one, so, you can only put so much in by law, they can't go over a certain amount of postage. So, we're looking at a third page.
I'm surprised we do the sticker stuff with tax bills. Because anybody with a mortgage doesn't get their tax bill to their house.
You hear that?
You know, they get it, the bank gets it.
Gets it.
The
I still,
sticker,
I mean, I pay my taxes that way. I still get the tax bill. I got mine
Me
last
too.
week in the mail.
Oh, you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, even if it,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like, hey, you owe us $4,000, and I'm like, no, I don't. Somebody else is gonna pay you. And then, go ahead.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I didn't work that way.
Okay, yeah, I didn't either.
So there,
Well, yeah,
there is a cost associated with it. He's happy to get us an estimate if it's, something you guys feel you'd like to move forward with.
well, the purpose of it is to alert people in the town about the housing programs that are
Correct.
available.
Yeah,
So if it's in with the May tax bill, then thinking about the work plan and new programs that we might want to undertake, it might be also a good way to announce any new programs.
we've only got a third of a
A
page.
third of a
though.
page, I know.
I'm wondering, like with, on the beach sticker, the other sticker issue. That's all online now too.
Say again?
That's online.
Yeah.
You can buy those online. now.
Yes, you can.
So maybe they don't need a full page.
I
That's
can
what I'm
ask.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll look into that too.
Oh, okay,
Just to-
great.
See, did they need it? I'll talk to Christine and drawing blank on his name right now, the DPW director.
John.
Yeah.
And just see, if maybe we can reduce their size. Instead of people mailing in a check, do it online. So maybe they don't need a full page.
Maybe their full page should say you could do this online, because I didn't know that.
I don't know if it did this year.
Okay, oh, there
It
you go.
did. No,
I mean,
it
I haven't
did.
done it since last spring, but.
Cause I
okay.
did it online.
Oh, you did? But I mean, did it say it in the mailing that came with the tax bill?
I think so, cause I don't know how else I would have known.
Oh, cause I
I'm
know we
not
talked
100%
about
sure.
it on the board.
I'm not sure.
No,
I just know
I
I
went to
did
the
it.
sticker office.
Yeah, me too, and like a week before they were doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
and
Do you wanna let me know what you find out?
Sure.
And then would you like me to request an estimate based on whatever information Amy comes back with?
well, let's assume that we want to do a half a page. If we
Okay.
could do a half a page, so an estimate for half a page.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
because we'll take any amount of space we can get.
Right.
And as part of our work plan, education and outreach is part of the work plan, so obviously you're gonna be brainstorming other ways. Besides the tax bill to get information out, like the the rental program. The people who most can use the rental assistance program, the RAP program, don't pay taxes, so. Got to find other ways to reach out.
Yeah, and I think when HPC was here, they did say, they go to fairs, they work with the schools, the programs go into their newsletter. So they have a whole outreach plan on that.
They do, but
Yeah,
we haven't seen big increases in numbers.
No.
So
Right.
maybe
So it would only include things for people that pay taxes.
pay taxes, right? So if, for example, if we set up a program to do a supplement grant for ADUs, the lease to locals program,
Right.
the help program.
But I think too, I mean, the more people it reaches, I mean, everybody knows somebody. And if they're a landlord and they know their tenant's struggling,
True.
True, that's true.
Yeah, that's not bad, yeah. And also we plan to expand the RTE to year-round rentals of single-family homes. That'll be on next year's warrant.
Say that again?
So, Provincetown has this now. If you have an RTE, you can expand it to year-round rentals of single-family homes.
Okay,
So it's obviously not owner occupied if it's rented out year-round,
right.
but if it
Oh, I
is,
see.
if they can qualify to have the exemption.
Yes, buy those properties.
That's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
At 3%, I can live with it. Let's get that in and then.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah,
see.
right.
yes,
Cause it's not, there was all this hubbub on Facebook about, oh, the landlords are gonna raise the rents. Yeah, over $30 a year.
Right.
I don't think so,
right,
but.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
okay. Okay,
It's-
I'll just do some comments. We're thinking about outreach. I heard you say somebody's working with the schools. I do read the Nauset School District and East Town Elementary School newsletters every week. And I can't recall ever seeing anything about this kind of stuff. So,
yeah, that's,
I mean, I can reach out to Mr. Crosby or something. and
I
see if
could
we
reach
can-
out to HPC and ask them the last time they did it,
Sure.
and,
I'm not gonna swear to you it's not in there, but
Right.
I just can't
Yeah,
recall
no,
seeing it.
and they-
And there's certain things that I know I see in there every week, like
and they had given us an
Town Arts is
update,
having this and somebody's got a,
was it back in like?
Caregivers.
I've never seen anything.
Yeah, I think it was in February, and I actually just saw something on Facebook as well.
Oh.
So they do,
On Facebook where? People,
School.
HPC put it out, they put it on all the community
Community
pages.
pages.
Yeah,
I must not be on the right community page, because I
You know,
never see any.
I'm definitely on the wrong community page.
yeah, but those things come and go real quick too.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it depends what you interact.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's there and nobody comments on it or whatever, then it does.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But,
You know,
Are you on TikTok, Carolyn?
no,
Snapchat?
no,
Well, I think I see what we gotta do here.
no, but if have a direct contact at the school.
Yeah,
which I
sure.
know you do, at the elementary school particularly, right?
Yeah.
Just upfront ask him.
Yeah,
How
I think
could we
that's
help?
easy. There's no.
How can we help?
Yeah, talk to the guidance counselor, Catherine Graziano. She'd be someone
Right,
good to connect to get something in.
Yeah, and I know that, rec has the information, so that's a good place, because all.
Well, they
you know,
send
the
out,
pick-
yeah.
Yeah, well, when the kids get picked up and stuff, the information should be there in the children's place periodically.
another, for next year, you said that. The Food for Kids organization that
Yeah.
packs summer lunches. What about doing a flyer in with the summer lunches? Cause those are the kids most likely to live in families that need help.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they do in terms of any, flyer stuff or things.
Yes.
Information stuff or things, but I know a friend of mine goes to Orleans to help do the food prep, and they're doing 900 meals a day.
And the other thing, yes,
Yeah, I just want to add something based on what you just said, that a study was done at the East Town Elementary School last year. And last year there were 185 students at that school. And based on the review that was done, 41% of those students were considered financially disadvantaged.
wow,
Sure.
Absolutely.
That was scary to me.
yeah,
And you have
That's
to
what we
assume,
opened the meeting with. Practically, it's that
Right,
same,
right.
that same
Same
story.
thing.
It's so many people right on the edge of, how can we stay here?
well, I mean, that's part of why all schools now have free lunches. Because it became, even in, I remember reading this a year or two ago, but even towns like Chatham that you would think, you know, the percentage of kids that qualified for free lunch was very high.
Yeah.
Because that's just the economics of the town.
If you're giving away half the lunches, the administrative cost of keeping
Yeah,
who's
well,
who
that's,
doesn't even
yeah,
make sense.
that's why we're now at all free
Yeah.
lunches, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never understood why they had to pay for lunch. It's compulsory that you go and then you're not gonna feed them.
right. It had to do with USDA also. And because a lot of the food comes from USDA. Yeah, and some of the requirements. So,
Well, to make it cheaper, but not
Right.
pay it all, I think. Seems pretty silly.
yeah, okay. So,
And the other place too is, you know, when working with Placemate for the Lease to Locals program, they're also pushing the programs as well for the tenants. And letting the floats know, so that's part of that.
yeah, we talked about trying to figure out from our rental certificate program, I forget, rental registration program. Are there landlords that we can target a mailing to go out? Have we done that?
No, we haven't, but I think we can, we'll get we'll see if that's a list that the health department can issue.
It could be,
Yeah.
like year round. I mean, internally, it's obviously not
we can-
published.
We can
Right.
figure out what the cost would be to just do a flyer mailing.
Mhm.
It's not many.
Yeah, we know there's only like
Well,
51 of
and
them.
it's part of the problem. too,
There used to be over 400, but.
Right,
Yeah, there aren't so many anymore.
right.
Okay,
So,
all right,
I'll donate the paper. I
okay,
mean, really, you're talking pennies.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, the way, yeah, let me put it that way.
okay. So we're gonna have a meeting next Thursday from 9 to 10:30.
Yes.
Maybe Rachel, between now and then, you and I, or you and I and Paul could get together and
Yep.
sort of organize so we can be efficient.
That sounds good.
That'd be great.
Doesn't give us a lot of time. I'll talk to him, see what he's got available.
Right,
He's, we've got Monday, we're closed.
right,
And so, tomorrow's part, so we'll talk.
yeah.
I'll check his calendar.
I'll do my best to, and we don't have a zoning meeting next week, so,
Oh,
yeah. So
okay, well, that'd be good.
it's every other week, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And he gives us this
Until-
much to read
Oh.
each time.
Until town meeting. Until the warrant.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, it's an intense 6 months. Okay, anything else, Rachel, from your tax bill, from your staff report that you wanted us to pay
I just
attention
want
to?
to point out, I mean, I just want to point out, I mean, it's just basic information for all of you. But Paul and I were invited to Letha from the Lower Cape ADU Resource Center is putting together a regional effort to look at other ways that we can incentivize wastewater initiatives and putting together an EDU tour. So she's invited the health departments and housing coordinators and planners to be part of that regional initiative. So
Good.
Paul and I are gonna kind of balance that out between us. And the shared regional housing services through the county, they've chosen to continue through their RFP process, they're continuing with Barrett Planning Group. So we will continue to have shared regional housing services for the housing coordinators and town staff.
Oh, good,
So
that's good.
Yeah.
Have we, what have they done for us?
they did a lot of work on our inclusionary zoning. They reviewed that bylaw. We've done bi-weekly housing coordinator meetings or town staff meetings. They've done a bit of database with a lot of different information. Off the top of my head, I can't think of everything that was on it, but it was, you know, the pilot year was a lot of data collection. So there wasn't a lot of programs or and they did some other work for us on Oh, geez, what was the other? I think it was mostly the inclusionary zoning because of looking at how we do all of that with one or two units for somebody when they have to, do it the same way they would for 65 units, the
Right.
lottery and all that. So they've reviewed that and they came up with some suggestions, and I think they're gonna be doing additional work on that for
Yeah.
us.
The zoning committee task force is looking at that to recommend some changes to our inclusionary zoning bylaw. For exactly
Yeah.
that reason. A good example is the project that Cape Associates is doing on Massasoit. They're taking the old capabilities building and that they bought, and they're gonna put housing above it. And so Matt's been willing to deed restrict some of it to affordable housing to qualify for the bonuses for inclusionary zoning. But as Rachel says, to do one or two units of affordable housing and have to go through the lottery and all of the requirements for those one or two units, there's a cost to doing that, and it's pretty high.
Yeah.
The estimate's about $25,000. And so,
And they have to maintain a wait list and
yeah,
follow
all
all of
kinds of
the
stuff. So,
for fair housing marketing, the
So-
same as a larger developer.
yeah, so this thing, considering how to, and those are not costs that we have any control over. As if we
Right.
can't waive them, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
Right.
So maybe raising the threshold for when inclusionary zoning triggers a little bit above where it is now.
Right.
So we don't impact those small projects. If we ever do something with Sandy Meadow, for example,
Right.
that would be another project that would potentially it'd be in that category. So,
We only have like one parcel left over at Sandy Meadow. I thought that was
we have one, it's,
Habitat looking at.
no.
That's got a little bit stalled because they changed directors.
Yeah.
Recently, I think in the spring, so that's somebody I do need to reach out to.
Right, but the Sandy Meadow project is stalled because we need to do our own internal research to figure out what we can do. When the land was deeded to us and the original deed restrictions, conservation restrictions, housing restrictions, et cetera. And there's just the project of going through the records and figuring that all out. So we know what we can do. And then trying to do an RFP to develop a partnership with somebody that wants to do something there, whether it's Habitat or Matt Cole or anybody else who wants to do it. It's about 3 acres. So it's.
No, it's just like a half acre parcel at the entrance there.
It is, but it's actually about 3 acres. Yeah, it's a good size.
It's on the left side of.
It's on the left. And on Sandy Meadow, you
I
know,
think there's any CR over there. It's, the CR's all on the
That's-
other side.
that's what we need to be really 100% sure about. There's also a wildlife habitat that comes through the top part of that, that's been documented. So at the very top part of it has to be appropriately restricted or taken care of because of the wildlife habitat.
Plan.
Hmm?
Somebody presented a plan about that.
Right. But we have to put all those pieces
Mhm,
together
right.
and to say, this is what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
And who wants to partner with this? Because we could, with buildable 2 acres, we could get a lot of housing there.
So it's all looking for little pieces,
Yeah,
collected.
yeah, and that would be a perfect project to have a consultant work on. So
Yeah.
help us,
Yeah.
help us go through the deeds, figure out the restrictions.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of initial design work, it's not Seward, so it's gonna have to have, the right kind of
And
sewer system treatment plan. Could it be 2 duplexes and 4 ADUs, each duplex can have its own ADU. We could,
we
yeah,
haven't even done that, looked at, well, you're looking at them now, tiny house regulations.
Right.
well, we could, technically, we can do tiny houses.
Right.
now. There's no prohibition against tiny houses in East Hampton.
But we need to have some zoning outline for tiny homes under seasonal communities.
Yes, we do, but
So I know that's coming.
that they're sort of looking at the same thing in two different ways.
Right.
We don't have any restrictions that would suggest that we can't do a tiny house now. It's basically the same thing as an ADU, it's just called tiny house. But it has to be appropriately deal with the septic issue, okay? Same as that piece of property,
Right.
right? But it could have a
We
tiny
also-
house.
We also have
Common.
the, you know, lot coverage
Mhm.
things to look at, so that I can see why it's all would be helpful. Because even though you say it's about 3 acres, some of it might not be buildable,
Right.
that still can count toward the buildings, I think.
Not anymore. Well,
Yeah,
no,
I think-
wrong words. If it is permanently non-buildable, like it's marshland, wetlands, then you can't count it when you're looking at site coverage.
Right.
If it's just a matter of figuring out how you can still have a trail, a wildlife trail, you know, that could be part of how the parcel's used,
But I thought like if you had, say it's a 3 acre parcel,
right?
so if there was nothing on there, you could have 12 bedrooms,
Mhm.
right? But if you have an area that's sensitive, say,
Mhm.
and you can't build on it,
Right,
whether it's wildlife habitat, whatever. And you only build in the other part. I think you can do that.
you can still do, yes,
Count, you can
I think
count,
that's true. I think you can only measure the buildable upland though.
right,
So it depends on, is that
Right.
area you can't build, is that because it's a nature preserve or is that because it's
right,
underwater?
right,
exactly.
If it's
right,
underwater,
that doesn't
And
count.
that
according
land is,
to, they changed some ruling on it too. Like now it's a particular phase of the moon, like astronomical.
Right, the high tide.
400-year high tide,
100-year
whatever.
high
They
tide.
defined it very specifically.
yeah, it's.
Right, so that. and
Yeah,
that's
we
not
did
the
that.
But it's,
case.
it's the land above that
That's not
counts
with
for your
this land,
allowance,
that's
not the
not-
land
That's not
below
the
that.
case with that.
Okay.
plan.
That
So
particular
it's-
property.
Yeah, so I think
So,
you could actually get more
Yes,
than,
there is a word for what you're describing. That has to do with open space density,
yes,
open space and
That's
density
it.
on the same property.
It's land that
Right.
you can't use, but it's
Resident-
allowed to count towards the land that you can't
And it
use.
is, which is why we could get quite a bit of housing on that piece of property and still preserve the habitat trail.
little village.
In a little village, and on that street, the houses down that street were affordable houses also,
Not all of them,
not all of them, but
Right,
some of them,
some of them.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a prime location.
Yeah. And then there's some habitat house.
Who owns this parcel? The town
We do,
or
now
the
this.
the trust?
The town,
The town.
Okay.
free and clear. And there's property in that same parcel across the street where the,
Oh, right on the
Open space.
highway,
but right on the
I
highway,
saw that,
there's enough land
and
there,
there's even a,
paper road,
right,
yes,
coming off the highway,
coming up the
by
highway.
the kitchen lady, there's the kitchen lady,
Forget exactly where it is. I can't
somewhere over there.
visualize
Yeah.
Put
that
a
side.
stoplight in, so the traffic.
Yeah. But there's land there that could also be developed for housing, and the open space committee is fully in support of that.
Yeah, because it's on the highway.
It's on the highway.
Right,
There's no
it would actually
habitat.
help buffer the.
Yeah.
Highway from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So one project could be both of
I saw
those
that.
components.
okay,
Good, all right.
it just scared me a little when you were talking about it, I thought you were talking about the part that we put in the CR.
Oh, no,
Across the street. Like-
no.
Yeah, that kind of.
But,
I mean, not that I
right,
wouldn't love to see
so,
more housing in that.
a motion to
but-
adjourn? We are adjourning at 10:30, right on time.
That was your motion?
Uh,
Or were you requesting a motion?
Oh.
requesting a motion.
I'll make a motion to
Okay,
adjourn.
and I'll
Okay.
second the
All
motion.
right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we can stop the recording.